Noah doesn't want to lose like this. He had worked hard to surpass his own limits to become an S-class business magnate, but facing a powerful S-class like Jin still feels like an insurmountable gap. Faced with failure, his mind is filled with his sister's words. "You're just a weakling." Those terrifying images still haunt him, emerging whenever he faces his toughest challenges. Like now, Jin remains cold and indifferent, approaching Noah in the form of a dragon, while Jin, though appearing dormant, is still proactive in speaking up to prevent any further confrontation. He's even activated his skill to lure Jin away. "If you don't stop, I'll show Noah your entire judgment. It wouldn't be fair to him if he knew what you're about to do," he warns. Am I covering up for him too much? He's the one attacking first, and Noah is just lying there in the dragon's body. Tears continue to flow from Noah's eyes as his dragon form gradually fades back into human form. Jin, concerned, approaches to inquire and explain, reassuring him that their close and misunderstanding is unnecessary. Noah, in his torn clothing, sits up in a state of shock, prompting Piss to quickly cover him up. Noticing his distraught state, Noah's mood is despondent, feeling as if he's in a deep pit of despair. "Why? Why me? Why am I like this?" he laments. "You saved me, even though you barely knew me," he admits, his self-doubt gnawing at him as he contemplates escaping his fate of weakness. "Even if I become an S-class and my sister acknowledges me when I become stronger, it still won't change anything." Noah's voice chokes up. "I just keep destroying everything, both then and now. Whenever I think of my sister, all I feel is fear. I can't think of anything else. I'm sorry. It's all because I'm too weak." Rin furrows his brows in rebuttal. "What are you saying? Who said it's your fault? It's not because you're weak. The problem lies with Jin. But the one causing property damage here is still him." Jin asks his younger brother to fetch something for Noah to wear. "Maybe a scarf would do," he suggests, trying to encourage him. "I don't know much about you two, but I can tell Jin is treating you unfairly. Anyone can see that it's abuse. So of course you're afraid. How could you not feel scared when he keeps bullying you? Besides, he's terrifying himself. That's why nobody dares to intervene. The way he treats you is unacceptable." Noah still doesn't see it that way. "It's because I'm weak. If I were just a bit stronger, things might be better," he says. Jin responds with a statement that seems to strike a chord with Noah, helping him find some clarity in life. "Strength isn't the issue. Even if you're weak, you don't deserve to be treated like this." He helps Noah put on the scarf, reassuring him further. "You're not weak. You've always tried your best. You even created a guild and earned titles. You've done well. You're strong enough. Besides, just now, you fought to protect me, right? A weakling wouldn't do that." Noah closes his eyes, tears of relief streaming down his face, feeling the warmth and care from Jin. "With words like that, you could move mountains," Noah says with a trembling voice, fully sensing Jin's concern and warmth. "Your shoes are so big that little brother could run to the sky," he adds, wiping away Noah's tears. "I've never had anyone say such things to me before," Noah murmurs, feeling touched by Jin's unprecedented kindness. Why can everyone feel so bad after seeing their relationship? Jin's reminder makes him realize how difficult it must have been, but from now on, he'll try to stay away from Jin. "I'll be here until I'm no longer afraid. My sister won't." Jin immediately agrees to accompany him, disregarding his little brother's protest. After everything settles down, the department head comes and takes Noah away. Not only that, he quickly resolves other issues. Du-hun is still angry at him for defending Jin, but fortunately, everything is settled. Later, Noah decides to become a security guard at the animal center to repay what he's done. Jin no longer cares about being hurt by him. He just sees it as an interesting match. The girl is still eager to have another fight with Noah next time to reclaim her honor. These S-class people are all fierce. A bully like Jin is causing headaches for everyone. Noah's transition to security work at the center gradually helps him adapt to his new life. At this point, Jerem starts paying attention to his uncle and wonders why Noah attacked him on their first meeting and why his sister is equally crazy. He finds it odd that Jin, who seems like a weak rabbit, is completely fearless. It makes her suspect that her uncle might be controlled by some kind of skill. Jin uses pity as an excuse, feeling sorry for Noah, believing he's young and needs help. However, Jim still can't shake off his worries, knowing how terrifying S-class power can be. Nearly everyone, regardless of their lower status or common people, feels fearful when standing with them. Just like Jim's experience in school, he had to work hard to conceal his abilities. Otherwise, his friends at school would surely always be in a state of fear. However, Ju-Jin is different. No level of status makes him afraid. Jim sees him as a constant worrier, always concerned about other creatures. There are so many strange things about Ju-Jin that Jim can't explain, which makes him sigh with frustration. Ju-Jin explains that there's nothing strange at all. Because he and John are of the same age, he doesn't consider him a stranger. Ju-Jin's statement piques Jim's curiosity about the relationship between him and his younger brother. Asking about it is also strange, like asking about the relationship between an uncle and the head of the association. Ju-Jin casually responds that it's just like he raised him. Indeed, he has been raising his brother since preschool. His brother even gave him a carnation on Parents' Day. Jim wonders about this since, at that time, Ju-Jin still had a family, albeit not good at caring for each other. Ju-Jin reveals that his parents were very good, always together, even in death. They passed away together on a trip, leaving behind two dependent siblings to fend for themselves from a very young age. Even though Jim finds this strange, wondering why, with a complete family, Ju-Jin had to care for his younger brother from such a young age. For Ju-Jin, his parents were always the best. Recalling his childhood, Ju-Jin is watching TV and drawing a picture of his happy family, still innocent and oblivious to the words he heard from his parents about his younger brother. Ju-Jin was curious about his younger brother, going into his room alone, disregarding their parents' words. In his eyes, his younger brother was obedient and adorable. They grew up together, and despite Do-Hyen's lack of emotional response, he always stayed close to Ju-Jin, receiving love from his older brother, never leaving his side. Their parents seemed indifferent, only caring about Ju-Jin's whereabouts, ignoring Do-Hyen. Ju-Jin always questioned his parents, asking about Do-Hyen's whereabouts, always staying by his younger brother's side. Their parents found it strange that Ju-Jin wasn't affected by Do-Hyen. He was good to his younger brother, while their parents remained indifferent. Though their mother tried her best, she couldn't overcome the psychological trauma left by Do-Hyen, leaving them with an unexplainable fear, unable to see him as their child. Do-Hyen seemed like a terrifying specter to them, but Ju-Jin was entirely different, devoting all his love and care to his younger brother. They were always together, even on Christmas, which was also Do-Hyen's birthday, the day their parents passed away, a memory Jun could never forget. Sometimes, Do-Hyen wondered to himself if he hadn't held onto that hand, hadn't kept that warmth to himself, perhaps his older brother could have lived a normal, happy life. He knew that, but he couldn't let go whenever he saw his brother laugh happily. Elsewhere, in the headquarters of the Jupiter Association, Hong-jae was on a phone call with someone named Evelyn, discussing Noah's antics. Hong-jae coldly responded, comparing Noah to a trained dog that eventually ran away, which was why Evelyn would return sooner than expected. She was curious about why Noah did it, but Hong-jae only knew that it might be related to Hanjin. Surprised, Evelyn responded that he was quite the monster trainer. Hong-jae replied, saying he didn't expect to tame him because he also carried half of a monster within him. Listening to Hong-jae, Evelyn, still mysterious, was in London, preparing to return to Korea. Hong-jae said that Evelyn seemed unsurprised, to which he eagerly replied that he liked it even more when things didn't go as expected, wanting to complain to the new owner of the runaway dog. On his desk was a picture of Ju-Jin and Noah, indicating his increasing interest in Ju-Jin with each passing day, seemingly planning something to get hold of Ju-Jin within his grasp. A few days later, So-dong was happily bringing the toys he had prepared for the spiky dragon girl. She truly had a different personality and loved the dragon to an extreme. Her motto was, "I'd rather have a dragon than buy 10,000 dong of supplements." She was skipping happily when suddenly she froze in shock, her eyes shooting upwards to the rooftop of the building in front of her. A figure was leaping from the top floor. A suicide attempt. It wasn't the moon. It was little dragon Noah trying to perfect her transformation as she leaped from the building. After circling in the air a few times, Noah transformed into a majestic golden dragon, a sight that left So-dong speechless and trembling. His mouth stammered, his eyes sparkling. There was another dragon, a dragon person. And just like that, The love at first sight happened. She was captivated by the beauty of this dragon. As a result, the hunter Kang wandering around turned into Hanju Jin's sister-in-law. In the following days, besides his security job at the No Animal Training Center, Jin regularly transformed into a dragon to familiarize himself with the sensation of flying. Thanks to Jujin's chicken luring skills, connecting him with Grease Blue, which helped him quickly learn the art of flying. Within a few days of learning and with Jujin's chicken luring skills, Noah was able to gracefully fly. Jin, while using this skill on both of them, didn't have wings to fly, but he could feel his body soaring as if flying through the air, feeling the cool breeze and the freedom of gliding through the sky. An exquisite sense of comfort and relaxation. It was also quite nauseating when this ball of fur kept spinning around. Jin, feeling dizzy, sat down. Noah, worried, hurried back to see how Jin was doing. Noah was training hard to get used to his dragon form. Every time he transformed into a dragon, he lost a set of clothes, and when he returned to human form, he wore nothing. Jin seemed quite indifferent, as if he was used to seeing that every day. However, there were still some difficulties, but having Noah here was like striking gold. Instead of looking at his title, it was his skills that mattered most. He had a healing skill. Most healers had very low physical attack points, but Noah was different. He was an S rank, so there was no need to worry about him getting hurt. He also had an S-rank attack skill called Unyielding Spirit. When Noah's body was injured by the opponent somewhere, the opponent would feel the pain at that exact spot multiplied several times. It was fortunate that last time they fought, Jin hit the wing. If it were another spot, the battle might not have been so easy. Another important skill of Noah's in this trial was activating skills and setting strength indexes, and then pushing them into Jin's body. The borrowed index skill allowed Noah to share his strength with others. After activating the skill and lending the index to Jin, his strength indeed increased significantly. He tested it with a blow that immediately shattered the floor. There was hardly a place left untouched. It was surprising how strong it was beyond Jin's expectations. The borrowed index skill was even more useful than using items to increase indexes. Moreover, its effect lasted up to 30 minutes. If Jin used the Amplify attack skill along with the heavenly enemy effect of the bamboo slap, the effectiveness would be 4 times greater. Jin could be as strong as an S rank. If Noah could activate the poison in his body and allow Jin to ride in dragon form, the monsters would almost certainly not dare to approach. Going in and out of high-level dungeons would definitely be easy. Jin was pleased and patted Noah on the shoulder, giving him a compliment that he was the best. Little wet behind the ears, dragon Noah was touched with just a simple compliment. However, the kids behind felt uncomfortable when someone kept clinging to Jin. Life here seemed to make Noah feel comfortable. He also regularly trained with Blue. Blue had grown up quite a bit by now, but with his lively nature, he couldn't resist teasing Peace. And every time, Peace had to show who the real boss was around here. If anyone dared to tease the boss, the consequence was being beaten mercilessly. If Jin didn't intervene, it would probably end up eating gruel instead of meat for a long time. Peace's affection for Jin was immense. It seemed not to like its father being busy with work and forgetting to rest. Every time, Jin would hug it and smile happily, saying it's okay, it's just work, nothing else can be done. The string of productive and beautiful days continued as usual. One handsome and wealthy boy visited with a bouquet of flowers in hand and a bright smile on his face. But of course, all he received was a cold reception, though still with a somewhat cheerful greeting due to social etiquette. Jin asked him what brought him here today with such vigor. Jay replied, "I'm somewhat hurt by your chilly reception, you know. As an investor, I just want to get rid of that debt dodger." Noah, upon hearing his name mentioned, immediately reacted uncomfortably. "You're quite cold," he said, his unfriendly gaze fixed on Jae. "You should have discussed this before running away. You and Jin seem close," he added sarcastically. "Did he hire you as a pet?" Hong's arrogance infuriated Noah. "I avoid conflicts," Jin intervened. "Stop it, Noah. Look straight into his eyes." Hong defended him. "I'll take responsibility for him. I invited him here." Rin was hesitant to speak, but Jin intervened. "I invited him. I'm doing this for my own reasons." Jin's hero image deeply impressed Noah. This was his light in life. Jin turned to Jae. I don't know if there's an issue between you two, but I want Noah to stay. Let's discuss the debt and what the investor needs. Ju-jin's straightforwardness always made Sung Hong-jae ponder. He invested in Noah for a secret purpose. Noah's unique ability to transform into a monster was what he needed. He wanted to turn Noah into a killing machine to serve his own agenda. Sung Hong-jae planned to use Noah to assassinate the powerful figures supporting Hansen and Breaker, weakening and eventually taking over those factions. Ultimately, his goal was to possess Ju-jin and eliminate any obstacles in his path back to the training center. While discussing the terms for Noah to stay, Ju-jin was unaware that Noah's protection was inadvertently thwarting Sung Hong-jae's insane plan. As for investing in Noah, Ju-jin expressed that he had invested a considerable amount of effort and money into them. It was related to finding Noah a title, even if it meant killing Daewon and SSS for it. Not only that, but it would help Noah establish a faction to escape his past. Ju-jin had invested a lot into him, and now Noah was here overnight, which displeased Sung Hong-jae. Sung Hong-jae stated that Noah just dissolved his faction because he decided to stay here. While Sung Hong-jae pretended the faction wasn't related to him, every word he uttered revealed otherwise. Noah didn't want any debts or the stigma of being a debt dodger. I'm still a Class S hunter. I can owe, and I can repay. If you need, I could even join Dungeon Rush, he stated. But that wasn't what Sung Hong-jae was after. He was here to collect a debt. Jupiter wasn't lacking in hunters, and Noah wasn't appealing to him anymore. With no faction and his transformation ability no longer a secret, Noah was still useful to hand Ju-jin, right? Seeing through Sung Hong-jae's intentions, Ju-jin cut to the chase. What do you want? Let's sign a trading contract. I don't need ordinary hunters anymore. Sung Hong-jae seemed satisfied, having forced Ju-jin to agree. He raised 3 fingers. I want you to help me 3 times whenever I need it. It wasn't specified what kind of help. Ju-jin didn't want to be put in a situation where he had to do something against his conscience. He took out a contract for further discussion, but Sung insisted it wasn't necessary. What if I need you to come and disrupt me? Sung remained indifferent. Then I'd be heartbroken. I trusted you, Ju-jin replied, unable to gauge Sung's intentions. Sung casually transferred a Class S hunter with just words, yet his confidence was unwavering, showing no concern for any potential drawbacks to himself. Ju-jin glanced at Hong-jae, feeling slightly uncomfortable. He wasn't affected by this discomfort, but he couldn't do anything about it either. He couldn't guess what Hong-jae was thinking or planning, but he couldn't refuse either. Ju-jin had to reluctantly agree and put away the contract, but he still set a condition as a precaution. I will reject any requests beyond my capabilities, and that may harm others. Hong-jae cheerfully accepted, reaching out for a handshake as agreed. Rest assured, I have no intention of harming anyone, he reassured. Suddenly, he inquired about the sharing skill from before, asking if it doubled the destructive power, and if he could use it only when there was an item to nullify damage. Ju-jin was quite surprised, but Hong-jae grinned as if he had anticipated it. If you could create such an item again, please let me know. At this point, Ju-jin had already discerned the intentions of this bad boy. What he wanted was Ju-jin's skill. Ju-jin chuckled to himself. Ha ha! Wake up, you fool! I'll never help you. It's as if getting that item is so easy. But little did I expect what Hong-jae said to be true. Right when I met Myung-yu, he gave Ju-jin 3 gems named Splotched Jade, also a one-time use item that functions like a broken bracelet. Myung-yu seemed quite carefree. Perhaps it was because of overwork that Ju-jin was extremely worried. Myung-yu said that when he's done, he'll show Ju-jin what it seems. He seems to be crafting something powerful. Though it was exciting to be put into the forge for the first time, Myung-yu didn't like to let anyone else but Ju-jin in. Today, Ju-jin brought Han here, as he had a job. He received a red egg after successfully raiding a grade S dungeon. This egg is a very high level, SSS, in the future. Ju-jin also knew about such egg-like items. However, they are extremely rare and no one knows their effects. They don't react to any environmental impact, not even breaking. So Ju-jin brought Han here hoping that Myung-yu and the fire elemental spirit can find out how to use it. Ju-jin is a fire user, so he's sensitive to fire. Han saw the strange fire across, and as he approached, it flared up, seemingly threatening him. Han spoke. There's a timid fire here. Hitmoira's fire was drawn towards the egg, and a reaction occurred. The egg began to crack, and the crack widened from within. Intense heat emanated, and the eggshells shattered. Inside was a fiery red creature resembling a lizard. While everyone was still amazed, something happened. That fiery lizard jumped straight into Jujin's eye, strangely causing no harm. Then it crawled out as if it was its hobby. Jujin used his observation skill, currently at an intense level, and got no additional information. It woke up thanks to Hitmoira's power. Perhaps it's also a fire spirit. Jujin speculated that in the past, such egg-like items never hatched because elemental spirits didn't exist. It's another change due to the time reversal effect. It's indeed a fire spirit, not only fire-resistant but also feeds on fire. Jujin believes it hatched from an SSS-grade item, so it can grow and become powerful, like Hitmoira. It's indeed a versatile elemental spirit. Jujin only said that and fell silent. Myung-Yu had to try his best to encourage it, handing it the splotched jade gem that Jujin thought of. Hong Jae's words had come true, but of course, Jujin would reveal this later because he didn't want to cooperate with him. But that's just what Jujin thought. Sometimes things happen by fate. Eventually, on a fine day, I accidentally met Hong Jae on an outing. Oh well, a few days later, things began with the attention to the minor changes. Today, Hana had a visit to the pet center, but in fact, she came to see Blue. She even asked for the troublemaker bird. Hana reminded Jujin of the promise to let her ride Blue. She's truly innocent and carefree. She's stubborn, but loves hugs and cuddles. Suddenly, Jujin asked her if she had just become a grade S dungeon hunter. He wanted to know what she got. Asked or not, Jujin already knew. It's an item called Tear of the White Whale, a one-time use item that can combine with ice equipment. Hana's element is wind, so in the future, she'll have ice. She already got Jin, so he wants to buy it for her. But unexpectedly, it wasn't the whale's tear. Hana said it's an item that functions as a second life. This puzzled Jujin, and he bombarded her with questions. Although the items from the dungeon didn't change, it left Jujin bewildered, pondering what caused the change. Seeing Jujin standing still and staring at him, Hana teased a bit. "Why are you lost in thought, big brother? Perhaps you've fallen for me already," Jujin exclaimed. "What's this nonsense?" and quickly brushed it off. As eerie as this encounter with Hana was, Jujin already knew that there would be many changes in the future. Even her hairstyle is different now. Both Noah and Jim have changed a lot as well, changing in a positive direction. However, life now is very good, and I have my own responsibilities. In the following days, Jujin continued to monitor news about items collected in dungeons worldwide, and these items all resembled what would happen in the future. Jujin thought that Hana's case could only be explained as an exception, but it still lingered in his mind inexplicably, making him unable to be at ease. With no other choice, he had to invite Ju Hyan to the dungeon. He wanted to inquire about news regarding the chicks and a few other matters. He was worried because things were becoming increasingly different from the future he knew, like with the chicks, for example. Skills didn't affect them, and they didn't develop like Peace or Blue. Sometimes, they even acted a bit strange. On that particular night, he was awakened by the sound of the TV, thinking Myung-Yu couldn't sleep. However, sitting on the sofa was the chick. It's strange how the TV turns on by itself, but it excites me to see the baby chick using tools. When I try to provoke it, it refuses and turns away. It just sits there, completely absorbed in watching TV. Then suddenly it becomes foolish and runs straight to the mana stone. I can't understand what's happening to it. Could it be that even chickens have multiple personalities? I'm a bit worried that I can't fully nurture the chick because it's only at the pressure stage and can't equip gear. The story is interrupted when Peace sees the fire spirit with its mischievous nature. Normally it would attack immediately, but this time it doesn't. Maybe it's afraid of repercussions, so it doesn't dare to act recklessly. I wonder if it's okay. This fire spirit has special abilities. It can dive into mana like swimming underwater, so it's safe for now. At this moment, I realize my brother has changed a lot. He now knows how to get angry and laugh. Things are changing for the better between us. Not only that, we're going into the dungeon together, something Jujin never dared to dream of in his past life. Indeed, other changes don't matter much. At least, Hone is still okay. The time we spent separated in that world is a memory I never want to recall. But now it's become something that never happened, and that's alright. I don't expect anything more from this world. I love it. The dungeon we're entering is a cold, icy place with snow covering everything. I'm surprised to see snow here. It's supposed to be a deserted dungeon. What's even stranger is that there are no monsters around. Jujin suspects this has something to do with the system, while Hun seems to be concerned about something else. Suddenly, after a moment of thought, Hun immediately urges Jujin to leave this dungeon. Jujin wants to wait for the system to come and meet them. Hun questions if the system is really trustworthy. He's sure it's not a trap. Perhaps someone is trying to kill him, thus creating this situation. Jujin thinks it's far-fetched because hardly anyone can change the dungeon so drastically. But he notices Hun's extreme worry. He's never seen his little brother so concerned. Before, Jujin would have asked what he's hiding, why a regular hunter can't intervene in the dungeon, who his brother is wary of. But now, he hesitates. He asks again, but Hun can't answer. He says he can't reveal it because he has signed a contract. Suddenly, a shadow is tearing through the air towards Hun. He quickly raises his hand to block it, but it's an arrow piercing through his hand. Jujin worries. That arrow could penetrate even an S-rank's hand, something not even high-level monsters could do. From beneath the ice, a toy soldier emerges, armed with a bow. It's not a monster, so who's controlling it? This makes Jujin even more terrified as he observes the toy's status. Its level is S, owned by the contract signer, and its position is number 6, implying there are still others yet to appear, at least 5, with numbers from 1 to 5, or possibly more. Just as he thought, they are soon surrounded by a toy soldier army, all at level S. With only Hun to protect him, Jujin's chances of escape are slim to none. All he can do is curse silently. What's happening? The damn system. The two brothers are in a perilous situation, surrounded by an army of toy soldiers, each at level S. It's even more dangerous now that they're facing multiple enemies at once. If there's no one to respond, they'll surely perish here. Suddenly, a loud voice echoes, making all the toy soldiers freeze, bewildered by the brothers' astonished gaze. Jujin also takes out his gemstone disguise. If they're attacked, the damage will be nullified. With that mysterious voice, everything returns to normal, followed by a sudden appearance of a mysterious box, sucking all the toy soldiers inside. When the toy soldiers returned to the box, they reverted to their original small form. Inside the box, there was a strange glowing ball transmitting from below. The voice emanating from it was quite terrifying. "You must be really scared, huh?" The cute little ball chuckled. Then the volleyball floated slowly in front of all three of them. Jujin still didn't understand what was happening here. It took him a moment to realize how the ball addressed him was similar to how the system did. "So, you're the system, right?" Jujin asked. The volleyball blinked. "Call me the newcomer." "Yes, I'm the newcomer here," it replied. Jujin, furious, grabbed the volleyball and cursed. "You just let them." "Wait, there's a hole in my hand." The system then explained that part of the reason the toys attacked was because of dye. Jujin, irritated, asked, "What did my brother do?" When Jujin looked up, he saw both Jun and Piss were trapped by a dimensional barrier inside. Jujin was extremely worried, asking incessantly, but couldn't hear anything from within. It seemed like the barrier completely blocked out all sound. The sphere indicated that it was because of what it did, and it needed to speak privately with Jujin. The system stated that this dungeon was specifically for Jujin's benefit. To reassure his little brother, Jujin raised his hand to show the sign of the spirits. "Everything is fine now," the sphere said. The new information indicated that the toys attacked Jun because he was involved with things even the system wasn't allowed to mention. Jujin worried about Hun's whereabouts, continuously pressing for answers, but the system kept refusing, claiming it couldn't disclose that information. The sphere assured that those individuals wouldn't harm Jujin and Jun directly because using direct force was against the rules. Jujin still couldn't relax and kept asking. The system seemed about to say something when suddenly the ground shook as if there was an earthquake. The system warned, "They are very dangerous. Don't inquire anymore." This made Jujin even more anxious. He wondered if those pursuing them weren't just ordinary adversaries but also fought against the system itself. Would they be able to resist them? More importantly, were they related to Du Hyan? The sphere reassured that and was safe. Everything would be fine as long as they were together. The safety of the little one was paramount. As their time of contact was about to end, it asked Jujin if there were any more questions. Though it was difficult to think in the current situation, Jujin didn't want to miss the opportunity to inquire about a few things. He asked about a baby chick, a peculiar status window like it was malfunctioning, and it was indeed odd. However, after the system checked, it couldn't see it. It asked if he was sure it was within the control range, but Jujin affirmed it was affected by the system's keyword mentioned earlier. Jujin thought of showing it, thinking it might help. Surprisingly, it intended to delete it. Furious, Jujin threw the damn sphere away, expressing his frustration to the system, which only added to his headache as there were still many unclear things. Jujin worried if he could trust it. Not only had this sphere attacked Jun, but now it also wanted to erase the baby chick. It reminded Jujin of a scary story he heard when he was young about a god with a purpose but indifferent granting wishes wrongly. Not only that, but this damn system also deceived him with the Stone of Wishes. It seemed like unclear explanations about the stone's capabilities, along with Jujin's wish to return to the past, weren't coincidental. The more Jujin thought, the more scared he felt. He continued with another unanswered question, regarding an S-rank dungeon reward that he knew had been altered. Jujin wanted to know if it was changed randomly or for some other reason. The system explained that if it was a one-time use item, it had been replaced because it was used already. Jujin wondered theoretically if it hadn't been used since he returned to the past, but that was just his speculation. In reality, it was different. Returning to the past didn't mean events wouldn't happen. At this point, Jujin felt scared. He sensed he was about to learn something he never wanted to happen again. The system began to explain further. It was like overwriting data. 5 years after Jujin returned to the past, it didn't disappear. It was just overwritten by new data. However, most things remained the same because Jujin was the time traveler who knew what would happen beforehand. But for those in the present, current information would overwrite future information. They weren't aware they had been synchronized with the future. However, there were a few sensitive individuals who might feel the familiarity, like the spatial distortion. Essentially, everyone had their future predetermined. For one-time use items or deceased individuals, those things were removed before the reversal. When returning to the point where those things were removed, that information would also be erased from this world. You couldn't synchronize the dead with the living. In other words, the future had decided that at that point, those things would be erased. Jun shivered, asking if events that could happen in the future would be eliminated and erased. Yes, they will completely vanish from the response system, like a bolt of lightning, making Jujin fear the diminishing intensity of what he just heard and knew to be so cruel. So what about my younger brother? My younger brother died that day. He was only 25 years old, enduring everything alone for 8 long years and sacrificing himself to protect me. I will truly have to experience that pain again. Why did he collapse again in that wretched dungeon pit that I left him in? How could he be eliminated from this world? Jujin's mind is in turmoil. He no longer hears what the system says. Jujin slowly advances towards Ju-Hyan quietly. "Let me out," Jujin muttered. Then he snapped angrily, his eyes filled with resentment, looking at the system. "Why did you do this? Why did you separate us, brothers, without saying a word? Let my sister out immediately instead of leaving her alone in a place like that." Meanwhile, time is running out, and the system is also erasing the world connection within. Unable to hear the conversation, he didn't know what happened. He hurried back to his older brother, slightly worried, asking if everything was all right. "Are you okay, brother?" Duin is still standing there silently, not saying anything. "It's already over." Before leaving, the system reminded, "If you want to return here, knock on the door 3 times. Jujin grasped Hun's shoulder, his voice choked with tears. "You seem to have caught a cold, and you also seem a bit strange to me. With an S rank like you, is this weather worth worrying about?" He gently strokes Hun's cheek, then pulls his younger brother closer, embracing him tightly. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Rin's voice trembled in his head, filled with self-disappointment. He asked himself questions. What if, Hun, you shouldn't have come back to the past so soon? At that time, I should have begged for you to come back to life with the wish stone. You sacrificed yourself to save me. You're too young. Your future is no longer bright because of this older brother. What if you were still trapped somewhere? What happens after returning from the journey into the dungeon pit? Jujin collapsed, Stepping into the empty house, lying on the ground with a terribly miserable mood, the image of Hun's death constantly haunting him. Why? I have a younger brother who tried so hard to protect me, a useless older brother, throughout those 8 long years. What did he get in the end? In the end, he perished alone. I thought everything that happened in my previous life was meaningless. Piss also knew that his father was in a very bad mood. He slowly approached and leaned against Jujin's cheek to comfort him. Although his mood was not good, Jun thought that Jujin could not collapse at this time. He wanted to change the fate of that dark night. He wanted to bring Jun back from the present death. He needed to investigate those suspicious figures related to Jun. The power of those figures could make the system developers cautious. Although Jujin tried to ask, Ju Hyan still avoided answering thanks to his keen emotional skills. Finally, Jujin also had a small part of Hun's memory. He took out his phone and called the only person who could know about the mysterious figures. A familiar voice came from the other end of the line. He never called me first. Jujin asked straightforwardly, do you know any sect similar to Confucianism? No, you are calling the wrong person, was the response. Jujin didn't beat around the bush and asked directly, do you know any sect similar to Confucianism? No, you are calling the wrong person, was the response. If I answer this question, and then pull you in, the master will be very angry. That's what Hum Jae means. He thought that Ju Hyan would not accept this, but Jujin didn't care about what Hum Jae said. At this moment, his only purpose was to bring the troublemaker to light. Jujin said coldly, if you don't answer my question, the angry one will be me. Which one is more beneficial in the face of Jujin's seriousness? Hum Jae had to yield. I can't say everything, but I can show you. Get ready with your armlet and enhance your combat skills. If you're ready, we'll have to go to a high-level dungeon tomorrow to start the hunt. Jujin appeared normal. He also let Ju Hyan know that he would go to the class at dungeon with Song Hun. He wanted to go with him, but Jujin stopped him and explained that this time it was like going on a picnic because Jujin wanted to explore the remnants left inside. In fact, Jujin stopped him because Hum Jae had instructed to refuse. If Hun wanted to follow him, he would have to be a bait, not too strong, or else he wouldn't bite. Jujin still didn't understand the bait. He said it made sense, but to achieve his goal, he couldn't be too worried. Jujin said Noah would go with him if he turned into a dragon. If he rode Noah, the monsters probably wouldn't come close. Furthermore, there are also items to mitigate damage and support from the system. Hun is still worried that it might be a trap, but Jujin said that he would enter the dungeon of the Sodom Guild, so they wouldn't dare to do that. Mentioning Sodom, Jun had some thoughts. This is the guild with the only S-class hunter he hasn't met yet. The guild leader is Jun Ko, and he never goes to meet other S-class hunters. Indeed, this guy is not easy to approach. The first time they met, he had a somewhat uncooperative attitude. Jujin enthusiastically extended his hand for a handshake, but he was afraid of accidentally hurting Jujin and didn't want to make him uncomfortable. We're just letting you borrow the dungeon. Whether you go in or not, I don't care, he said to Jujin's younger brother, even refusing to interfere. Don't let him jump forever. Seeing his indecisive attitude, Jujin realized that this guy doesn't like Abbas Suong. Hung Jae frankly said that they hate Abbas, which is more accurate. That's also why Song Hung Jae chose to borrow their dungeon, as they might exploit this opportunity to attack, maybe even with reinforcements. Sung Hung Jae's goal is to lure out that support team. Jujin turned pale when he realized he could become prey, so vigilance is needed. Despite Jujin's concerns, Hung Jae remained calm as if nothing was wrong. Not only that, he also gave Jujin a basket of provisions for outdoor use. Jujin felt a bit anxious, unsure whether to enter the dungeon or go on a date. It was terrifying. However, Sung Hung Jae's confident demeanor also reassured Jujin. He felt safe, believing that he would be protected even if someone attacked. Meanwhile, outside the Hunters Guild, there was a protest by the people. They were outraged because the government was encouraging high-ranking hunters to migrate elsewhere. In their capital, there were now only 2 S-class hunters left, and they felt they didn't have enough manpower to ensure their safety. The Mexican Hunters Association, MAA, was also present. They were complaining about being banned from entering or leaving the country. A security officer was dealing with her complaints, but he didn't have the authority to lift the travel ban on her. He intended to report it to higher authorities, But before he could do anything, he was killed by a shot from the protesters outside. Armed protesters, equipped to the teeth, had arrived. They wanted to punish the Hunters Guild, believing that dungeon explosions were God's will and should not be resisted. Their aggressive actions left the security personnel extremely distressed. However, those terrorists were unlucky. Today, there was someone here whom they shouldn't have messed with. Their actions were interfering with MHA's work. She wanted to quell this unrest to obtain travel permits. She ripped off her blood-stained traditional Mexican coat, excitedly rushing outside. Meanwhile, outside, the battle between the terrorists and security personnel was tense. Suddenly, a loud scream echoed, causing everyone to step back. JS appeared with a powerful leap that shattered even the concrete beneath her feet. Her hands clenched, ready to dispatch any opposition to meet their ancestors' spirits. A surge of energy swirled in her eyes as she spoke coldly, "Step aside or face the consequences." With no discrimination between friend or foe, JS activated her farewell skill, transforming into a bloodthirsty beast with terrifying speed. Swinging her pair of swords, she charged into the midst of the terrorists, her strikes slicing through them like lightning until their bodies lay in scattered pieces. Standing amidst the carnage, she looked up to the sky, relishing in the satisfaction of fear that she instilled in the terrorists. Her smile was that of a satisfied demon. Just when it seemed like everything had been swiftly dealt with, a strange voice sounded. "I'll give you another chance." The voice emanated from a communicator of one of the opposition. It mentioned the contract, unhesitatingly threatening to crush the communicator to silence the persuasive words. "Why are you here again? Didn't I warn you not to come close to me and my brother? Why didn't the matter end there? What strange ability does that mysterious person have that can manipulate the bodies of dead people?" Just killed, he slowly stood up and surrounded her. With those words, "I will give you another chance. Contract. Those seemingly meaningless words kept echoing. It made the professor uncomfortable. Miss Tin cut her off. "Cut all these zombies to pieces so they don't have to hear that jumping sound." That voice spoke again, the firstborn of the cursed poison dragon, Dionysus. These words were spoken. Suddenly, Jay fell to his knees as if he had a force. Invisibly pressing down on her, he ordered Jay to kill Song Hong Jae and bring Hanjin back to them. Jay is not a person who can subdue her. She was angry and shouted loudly, "How dare you order me?" Jay's words to the pair of weapons in his hand immediately turned all those zombies into protein fragments. V just finished dealing with the corpses and his voice also disappeared. Jess was a bit hesitant because of the headache that was coming. "Hey, it's difficult to get an immigration order removed." A figure behind him said he could help her. This person is the president of the McChoy Guild. He said he was ready to fly. He'd also personally said that he was told by that talking corpse that he appeared here for whatever purpose. He was also manipulated by that mysterious person to return to Eugene. Hyam Jae and Noah are now with them. In the dungeon of the Sodom Guild, there is a dungeon with beautiful scenery. Besides the river and mountains, there is also a magnificent castle. If this is not a dangerous dungeon, then it is truly a resort paradise thanks to Noah's poison. But destroying all the monsters here is quite easy. Noah continues to fly in the sky to observe and watch. Jujin says that there is something he wants to talk about privately with Song Hum Jae. However, Noah is still worried about leaving Jujin there alone with him. Sung Hung Jae didn't know if these two young men were going to the dungeon or on a picnic. While Noah was working, the two of them stood admiring the scenery and talking. Not only that, they were joking with each other, but Jujin also didn't expect that one day he would have to go alone. With Song Hung Jae like this, he still wondered if Hung Jae's plan would succeed, but he just said to calm down and wait. Everything will come soon. Hung is actually using Jujin as bait because of the guild. Savam has a private defense. With June currently, President Abbas's precious brother is here, which is the best opportunity for them. Jujin also did not know what defense had happened between them and Jun, so he asked Song Hung Jae, recounting the incident that time Jun destroyed the entire family when he had just awakened. Jun Kong so underestimated and insulted Jun at the party, and in the end he had to pay the price that time. Even though he didn't die, he was still beaten by Jun and had to be hospitalized for a long time. Jujin also thought that was the consequence for disrespecting the president and the ending. Hung Jae added that every time they met each other since then, Jun all showed an attitude like they wanted to kill Jung So right away, so basically Savan was humiliated because of that reason they couldn't develop further. And you know it's a hidden dog fuck is very hard to endure. Hong Jae takes out his watch. It seems like the time predicted for their appearance is about to come. The more I know about Song Han Jae, the more I see that he is profound and unpredictable. Because of that feud, Hyun Jae used him as bait, but Jujin still wondered if this was okay when he said he would explain about the sect. It felt like Song Han Jae had a deeper connection to them than anyone else. Jun, until now, there is no guarantee that Song Han Jae will not cooperate with them. Song Han Jae seems to be able to guess what Jujin is thinking. He said something that startled Jujin. They also wanted to eliminate me. This statement let Jujin know that he did not cooperate with them. However, Song Han Jae said that he had a contract with them. Song Han Jae said that at first he cooperated with them, mainly to collect information then leave, but they realized and completely changed their attitude. That was also the time when he and Jian reconciled from the future, so Jujin also knew that a few years later Jae has really left them. Even if this time Jujin has gone back in time, they are still strangers to this world and remember that information, and that is why they turned their backs on Song Han Jae. This guy is very confident in himself and always has plans in advance. Even though he knew he was also a thorn in those people's eyes, he still confidently walked into the dungeon with Jujin. Song Han Jae turned to tease him. Are you kidding me for thinking I'm on their side? But before you finished speaking, Noah announced that someone had arrived. Those people were the Sodom hunters that they met outside the dungeon hall. Not only the leaders of the MKC Alliance, but also all of us are extremely fierce. There are even two S-class leaders from two alliances participating this time. But in the eyes of the arrogant Jae, these two S-classes are just like two high-grade organic rubber mattresses, while the lead gang next to them is just decoration, being underestimated. The two S-class youths appear very resentful. Jae stands tall, looking down arrogantly, issuing a challenge. I was excited to see who it was, but it turns out to be just MKC. I muttered disappointedly. I'm a little disappointed that you all think so lowly of me, Jae sneered. Jun Kang, don't speak nonsense, without reason, he said, mocking. This time he came prepared. He took out a crystal ball, seemingly confident in its power. The magical circle emitted from the crystal ball covered a large area, and along with its influence, Jae's golden light shackles vanished. The ball sealed Jae's lightning skills, but there was no change in Jae's demeanor. He said he would free himself a bit. The people of Sodam and MKC were delighted that they had sealed Jae's lightning skills, thinking they had the upper hand. Jujin also had some concerns and asked Jae if he needed to amplify his skills, but Jae shook his head, refusing. I can handle it myself, he said, but suggested that Jujin use his sensory sharing skill, just like at the dungeon hall before. I'll show you something amazing, he said calmly before jumping down in front of the crowd from Sodam and MKC. Even though Jae's lightning skills were sealed, the tremendous pressure he emitted still made others tremble. When he approached Jun Kai, he reassured his troops not to fear and just stick to their training. Nothing bad would happen. At this point, they regained their composure and organized their first plan to set up a defensive shield. Everyone else activated their skills. Too many people were activating their skills, and S-class's power would surely increase terrifyingly. Jujin was truly worried about the battle below. The BFF was activating its continuous attack, increasing its attack power by 15%, cross-planting power by 30%, attack power by an additional 45%, agility by an extra 55%, and stamina by another 45%. There were too many enhancements, making the power of an S-class now overwhelming. Just a light step caused the ground under his feet to shatter. The MKC leader moved lightly, becoming a blur in an instant, then appeared in front of Jae, launching a powerful strike. However, Jae simply stepped back to avoid the blow, his confidence undiminished. It's been 10 years since our last fight, hasn't it? He replied arrogantly. I remember you looked pathetic back then. Isn't that right? Enraged, the MKC leader attacked Jae wildly, unleashing every technique, but Jae easily evaded. Every move, every skill was like a storm, creating a strong wind, making Jujin and No outside feel suffocated. Jun Kong stood outside, jubilant, thinking he could defeat Jae. If he could land just one hit, The ongoing battle between Jae and the MKC leader was still fierce. The Sodam and MKC crowd were still excited to see Jae overwhelmed. However, despite the intense and powerful attacks, Jae remained untouched. No worried for Jae, but Jujin reassured her, saying he was just playing with the MKC leader. Jujin was using his sensory sharing skill, so he knew what Jae was doing. It amazed him. Through Jae's eyes, Jujin felt like he was in the battle himself. He could sense everything, predicting every move and action clearly. Jae simply moved aside lightly to avoid attacks. Despite the relentless and powerful attacks, the MKC leader couldn't lay a scratch on Jae. Meanwhile, Jujin outside was still astonished by Jae's dominant ability. Jujin knew that with Sung Hong Jae's skill, the MKC leader had no chance of winning. With the skill named Battlefield Insight, Hong Jae could foresee every action and attack of his opponent. It was not surprising that he remained calm and dominant, launching numerous attacks without being countered. A skill so powerful in reading the opponent's actions left the MKC leader helpless. There was no way the MKC leader could cope with such a formidable skill, especially for a close combat specialist like him. It was definitely impossible. Perhaps it was this skill that earned Sung Hong Jae the title of the world's strongest hunter. Suddenly, Jujin had a wicked thought. What if he could acquire that skill? What if he could have a coordinated army at his disposal, thanks to the ability to foresee the battlefield situation with that skill, along with the S-Class and all the mounts? There wouldn't be a dungeon hall that couldn't be swept clean. He wanted it. Jin truly desired to monopolize this skill, the longing evident in his eyes and face. He was willing to obtain it from him at all costs, regardless of who possessed it. Why should such a skill fall into the hands of a despicable person like him? Returning to the solo battle, Jae, still circling his opponent like a cat toying with a mouse, Jun Kung swung. Boiling with the desire to launch long-range attacks, couldn't assist as they were in close combat. The chief of the MKC, after being taunted for a while, began to lose his composure. His anger was now directed towards Sung Hong Jae. Whether he could touch Sung Hong Jae or not was another matter. The time for play was over. Sung Hong Jae now officially moved his hand, controlling his chain to plunge deeply into the ground. Jun Kung swung, armed and ready to charge, found the ground beneath Sung Hong Jae cracking, then rapidly extending towards the opposing crowd. It was a scene that left Jun Kung swung horrified as chains, under Sung Hong Jae's control, emerged from the ground, piercing through the opposing crowd and subduing them all. The leave force had completely surrendered. The strength of the MKC chief also faltered. He immediately fell into panic and fear as Sung Hong Jae began to counterattack. Sung Hong Jae's voice was cold. The time for play is over. With his left hand tightly clenched, he moved towards the chief of MKC, whose face and eyes now clearly showed extreme fear. Devoid of muscle power, all the chief could do was raise his hand in an attempt to block Sung Hong Jae's punch. Even as the blow landed, he still couldn't believe that they were of the same level. But why was there such a vast difference in strength? It didn't require much. Just one blow had left the MKC chief lying helpless on the ground. Sung Hong Jae turned to look at the remaining crowd, causing each one to pale. Jun Ki-ung Suong remained steadfast. This wretched business isn't over yet. Could this guy still be scheming something behind? Suddenly, not only Sung Hong Jae but Jujin and Noah also sensed someone appearing behind Jujin. But by the time they realized it, it was too late. Jae suddenly appeared, shooting a blow at his younger brother, then grabbing Jujin by the collar and dragging him under the power of Jiz. Jujin was no different from a helpless fish lying on the ground, but there seemed to be something strange about Jiz. Her demeanor and attitude seemed abnormal, as if her mind were not in the right state. This unexpected event was beyond Sung Hong Jae's usual ferocity. Perhaps she had sided with the other party. Jae shouted, "We need to kill the leader of Jupiter and betray Jin." He felt strange about why Jace called his name directly. Upon closer observation, Jace's eyes seemed lifeless. Jujin kept asking why Jace did what she did, why she joined forces with the weaklings below. Jae coldly replied, "You need to come with me." As someone with blood ties to the cursed dragon, Jujin still tried to negotiate. But Jae's actions were entirely different from usual. He believed that she must have been mentally manipulated by Noah. Taking advantage of Jace's inattention, Jae attacked to rescue Jujin, forcing Jace to release him. But instead of fleeing, Jin rushed to embrace Jae's. This inexplicable action bewildered everyone. Jin activated his supreme acting skill, his eyes shimmering with tears. "Calm down, Jiz. We're good friends. Don't do this." She seemed to have no memory of their warm friendship and memories. "Look up at the blue sky. It won't make your heart race." What prompted this cold and emotionless action from Jace beyond imagination made both enemy and ally feel something was off. But Jace paid no attention. She pushed Noah aside and reached out to grab him. Jin tightly embraced Jace in her arms, then pleaded to the ancestral spirits for any kind of protection, any kind of skill, or double effects to please neutralize the controlling skill on her right away. The main character, Jae, gently reached out to touch her cheek, happily expressing gratitude for breaking free from mental control. "Thank you, sweetheart. Thanks to you, I'm back to my senses," she said with joy. Jin was also delighted to have dispelled the difficult fate. With a smile, she lifted Jin up like a prince overjoyed to see his princess. On the other hand, Jun Kai became furious when he saw Jiz not obeying orders. Though Jiz no longer followed commands, another incident occurred as our attention was drawn into this humorous situation. Avoiding one dilemma only led to another, encountering Jiz's inherent tendency for mischief. "Did you know, sweetheart, when I was 5 years old, my dream was to become an evil dragon like in the fairy tales I read and kidnap the princess." Jin had truly become the evil dragon, and Jace had become the princess in that fairy tale. This chatty girl wanted to seize the opportunity to turn everything into a story just like she read. "Please save me, my prince," Jace said, grabbing Jin and running straight to the magnificent castle. What had been a tense battlefield suddenly turned into a Super Mario game to rescue the princess. "If you want to regain the princess, climb to the top of this tower," Jace growled. Both friend and foe were unable to keep up with this tale unfolding inside the dungeon. What would happen to the kidnapped Princess Hanjin? Well, you'll have to play Mario to find out more about that fairy tale. The fairy tale recounts that since ancient times, the evil dragon always heralded the climax of an adventurous story, accompanied by the appearance of dungeons inhabited by real evil dragons. That's why Jace truly wanted to recreate those fairy tales, those adventurous journeys. When she turned into a dragon, it was a fairy tale about an evil dragon and a princess trapped inside a castle within the tower. Jin was feeling despondent, wondering why things had taken such a swift turn. Just moments ago, it had become such a dire tale. Jo, on the other hand, was ecstatic, vividly reliving the story, transforming back into human form, which startled Jin. "How did you become human so quickly?" she asked. "Put some clothes on and let's go." "Unlike you, I prefer to remain fully clothed even in human form," Jace replied. It turns out all it took was the skill of cursing. Jace explained that unlike Noah, who transformed clumsily every time, she could transform smoothly without any issues by just using the curse skill. Jace continued her story. Because she kept refusing, they used Noah to threaten her. But she still managed to defeat them, leaving them scattered and silent for quite a while. However, they had recently reappeared. They even called her the firstborn of the Vedum Dragon Diovanis and ordered her. Jis didn't understand why, but ever since hearing those words, she began to obey their commands. Jin speculated that perhaps it had something to do with her title, some mysterious entity managing to control the Vedum Dragon. Jis felt Jin's explanation made sense because she sensed a familiar feeling akin to a high-ranking Vedum Dragon from them, similar to what she felt from Jin. This allowed Jin to explain why Jis could break free from mental control. If it was a curse from a Vedum Dragon to control Jis, then the double-strengthening skill resistance effect had neutralized that curse. Though it was merely fortunate, it indeed had an effect. While deeply engrossed in thought, Jui failed to notice Jis' peculiar behavior. Jis once again pushed Jin onto the bed with the intention of stealing her innocence. Jis delightedly observed Jujin's worried and pale face. "Why don't we continue from where we left off last time?" "No, it's fine. You don't have to transform into a dragon. Just stand next to the tower or do something like a real dragon," Jujin suggested, her expressions only further exciting Jiz. "Oh, so you prefer my dragon form, huh? That's quite a strong taste you got there," Jace teased. "Don't flatter yourself. Anyone could have saved me," Jujin retorted, following Princess Rin's call. "The valiant prince has arrived to rescue you, my princess." Sung Hung said as he appeared. The princess giggled teasingly. Fashionably late, aren't we? My virtue has already been stolen by another prince. Jae sighed, slightly bored, while Ju Jin breathed a sigh of relief for still retaining her innocence, observing Sung Hung's attempts to provoke.